Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 13 of Mythos Busters, now with 200% more tentacle. I'm Sean, and guys, we almost have a full crew. We might get there for the end of the night. So we've got, of course, Ian. Hi, Ian.
Hello there.
And returning from many dark and Tomless nights, we have our man, Tom.
Hello, hello. It's a miracle I'm back.
Back again. Glad to have you.
It's good to be here.
Ah, yeah. And of course, we have Scott.
Hello.
And our question mark for the night is Nick. He's around. He's just having technical issues, so he might hop on as needed. So, guys, we've got a pretty packed episode for you tonight. We've had a little bit of irregularity with our release schedule and our recording schedule more than anything. So hopefully going forward, we've worked some kinks out. I think we're going to try to get back on the every other week, bi-weekly-ish release schedule. So you should be seeing that. So thank you for sticking with us. Hopefully a little bit more regularity going forward. So today we're going to talk about a couple of community highlights, two of which I'm super excited for because they're directly related to our podcast. We're going to talk some news. And tonight our discussion is going to be, again, bringing these spoilers farther and farther forward, guys, keeping you on the bleeding edge of encounter deck strategy. We're going to talk about the Miskatonic Museum and Essex County Express encounters, or Mythos packs, I suppose is what they're actually called. Yeah, let's use that term. So I'm excited. You know what, though? We have some loose ends to tie up first. Ian,
Yes.
Why don't you tell us what happened with our contest?
Well, what happened with our Marie Lambeau contest, where people were submitting their versions of occult cards, since there are currently none in the card pool, was that we got a ton of great entries. I think there's like 20, 30 entries, something crazy like that. So if you haven't seen those yet, you can go ahead and go to our Facebook and look through the gallery. You can't vote anymore because we're about to announce the winner, but you can at least look at the pretties, and that's good too.
You know what? Still feel free to like stuff because, sometimes the card creators just like that little boost when they go back and go, oh, 12 likes last time, it was 11.
It's a thing. Put that little pep in their step for the day. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So our winner of the Marie Lambeau Investigator and her accompanying cards, without further ado, was the creator of the Ritual Dagger card, and that was Brennan Hilgendorf is the winner. So Brennan, go ahead and send your details, namely your address, to us, and then we can go ahead and get that
to your
situated. House. Yep. Yeah, we'll come to your house.
Flash mob on your doorstep.
Spared no expense. Tuxedo and champagne optional.
And I do have to say there was no funny business. It didn't win just because of the artwork, which was a certain investigator that one of us happens to love.
Someone knows their audience, though.
Yeah, that is true.
Both an awesome Mystic card and a card featuring Diana Stanley, though it is the old Diana Stanley art, not quite the sexy bombshell that she becomes a little bit later with the Magali art, but still.
Oh boy, it's gonna be fun times when that investigator.
Take whatever you can get.
Actually,
yes,
he's in the desperate stages.
I can always just go play Eldritch, guys. It's okay.
He's like the 12-year-old kid trying to stay up late to catch the Cinemax flicks.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
I mean, I'm not going to deny any of that's in the realm of feasibility. So, do you guys have any personal favorites though, out of the ones that were out there? Obviously, I even before I saw how many likes were out there, Ritual Dagger was at the top of my list. I know, Scott, you had mentioned maybe the Survivor card was one you liked.
Yeah, and not just because I'm a Survivor guy.
Survivor.
Yeah, I'm expecting that. Tricked was an awesome, almost man, it's such a high risk, high reward card. Like, it's like, hey, you can automatically evade an enemy, but you might end up taking a whole turn away from everybody. Yeah, that was a cool card. I think that one might have been my favorite, but
Awesome.
yeah.
So, one other thing I'd like to point out before we roll into the actual community pieces here. Well, I suppose it is technically related to a community piece. The Mythos Busters, yours truly is. We're lucky enough to be contacted by, I think, probably the foremost Arkham-centric YouTube channel. Is that safe to say? At least based on numbers, I think. The Arkham Chronicle. And we got to do a little collab. So if you haven't checked the Arkham Chronicle out yet, I would definitely recommend you do that. They're really good at the kind of short form videos. Most of their videos are 5 minutes or less. So they're really nice and bite sized as opposed to our hour long epics that we like to put out there. Or I think we put one out there. It's like 2.5 hours. But hey, different content. So yeah, go check that out if you haven't seen it already, because that was a lot of fun. And I thought our contribution was pretty easy. Just speak for a minute on, your favorite investigator cards for your favorite investigator. But the editing I thought was so brilliant what he did with everything in the end.
It made me laugh out loud. That was clever. His Lita Chandler impression was top notch.
I don't know what it is, but anytime you give someone the voice of the old old English crone,
Yeah,
it just instantly becomes classic.
it was really good.
I can't now when I go back to read the Night of the Zealot story campaign, I hear Lita, you've destroyed my barrier.
Yep.
So thank you for that, Ed. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely check out the channel. One of the problem, I love videos on the internet as a nice vague general statement, but a lot of times the problem is that they're very long, and I like the fact these are very quick. You can watch them, in the period of a good, break or whatever the case may be.
Or bowel movement.
Or bowel movement. Yeah.
I mean,
you went where I was itching away from, Scott.
Let's be real. You guys both have kids under 5. The bathroom's a holy place at this point.
It really is.
Yeah, so check that out and check out the rest of the videos. And, guys, I keep thinking to myself, we need to do a community roundup. There's been enough dedicated content production out there now that I think it'd be useful, not only for everyone who listens to us, but for me myself to see what's all out there, to do a kind of a community roundup to see what who's writing, who's video producing.
Yeah,
there's that other podcast, but whatever. So moving on from there, let's talk a little bit about probably one of the gluiest parts of the community, at least in my experience with Lord of the Rings. So you may have seen it on our YouTube videos, especially our playthrough videos that we were testing the Arkham module for Octagon. And now
it is officially out. Huzzah!
There it is.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. It's been out for a little while now, but I think this is the first time it's been out since we've recorded an episode of the podcast. So we can officially announce its release. I'm sure many of you have already been using it to some extent, or at the very least seen videos of either us or some other YouTubers using it to play playthroughs. But if you don't know what Octagon is, it's an application or program you can download for your computer, and it's kind of like a virtual tabletop surface designed for handling card games. And it's been around for many years, and so now we have a module for it where you can play Arkham Horror, the card game, on your computer. And you can play it online with buddies and friends around the world. So that's fantastic to finally have that out there as a resource for everyone to come together and play games together, which is great.
It sure is. And yeah, and when I still prefer physical cards by a long shot, but there are some nights where I just don't have it in me to drag out the case and throw down the playmat, and sort out the tokens and find the encounter sets and grab weaknesses and grab out the... Yeah. So there are just some nights where Octagon, oh my God, I'm so glad it exists.
Yep.
So the one thing I will say is just knowing what I know from being involved in the Lord of the Rings community a bit, images for the Octagon mod. Tom, do you want to kind of run us through what the standing policy is for image packs?
Yeah, so the way this goes is as I push updates out to the module as new Mythos packs are released, the cards, or at least the data for the cards, will be in the module, but the actual card images do not come included with the install. So you'll have to download these separate image packs to actually get the card images for each card in the game. And so we've kind of adopted this policy, and so far FFG has seems to be lenient with it, and this has been the case for Lord of the Rings and other games. Is that the general policy we've adopted is we will not be releasing image packs for cards until 6 months after the physical product has been released. Because none of us here condone piracy. We want everyone to buy the game. We want to support FFG for giving us an amazing product. So that's why we don't want to just throw the image packs out there for everyone to just pick up and use. Because we want people to buy the game. That being said, if you have your own physical cards, you can scan them in, and you can, kind of make your own image packs if you have your own access to your own cards. But so yeah, don't come asking for image packs if they're not released yet, because we don't have them for you.
Yeah, distributing image packs is a good way to get a big old cease and desist letter.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is we're trying to keep this as a really nice, resource for the community. So we just try to police ourselves so that we don't invite the need for someone else to come in and police us.
Exactly right.
That's just kind of not what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I will say is if you're just super not into the whole scanning thing, and you have indeed purchased the product in question, another route you can go is to, if you subscribe to Octagon, I can't remember exactly what it costs. I think I pay like $3 a month because just the features are worth it. You can actually click and drag images into the deck editor to get images into Octagon. So it is kind of a nice middle ground where you have the images. Maybe they aren't the prettiest, but they're workable. Just again, let's not go crazy, guys. Just police ourselves.
Yes, well put.
Keep FFG in business.
Mm-hmm.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm so glad that's out there because I know people have been anxiously awaiting that. So hopefully, if anyone was paying attention.
One thing is, there will be a website as part of Octagon has kind of like a WordPress site set up, and each module has their kind of own sub website on their WordPress page. So I'm in the process of setting up one for Arkham Horror, and once that's up, that will be kind of the quote unquote official place to grab image packs once they do get released. And I'm sure I'll be linking that when the time comes, when it's ready to go.
Yep. So pay attention to our Facebook page. Tom, I don't know, would it be worth it to throw it out on our website maybe?
Yeah.
Do we want to commingle? Just a link over there?
Sure. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
There'll be places to find it. Just pay attention. And then Scott, another project we've been working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've been doing the MISKATONIC AV Club. So it's pretty much whichever Mythos Busters we can kind of get together, and we do more in-depth technical talk, I guess you could say, about the player cards from different releases and stuff, and we really get down to the nitty-gritty and costs and values and all this stuff. And we have it out on YouTube, we do it live on Twitch, and some people have asked to have it in audio form. So that's officially out now. It's been out for a little bit now, kind of like the whole Octagon thing.
We haven't been broadcasting it quite yet, but it's out there. Yeah,
so whatever podcast thing you use to grab podcasts, look for the MISKATONIC AV Club. It's a separate podcast from Mythos Busters, so if you don't want to listen to the AV Club, it's not going to clog up your Mythos Busters feed. But yeah, really good content.
That way, it's an opt-in situation is what we really wanted to create. So it is that separate feed. We've got 6 episodes out there now, so each faction in the core, and then we've got 3 more. So the first half of Dunwich coming up closely behind it.
Yeah, and those are out on YouTube.
So check them out.
So
yes, those are all on YouTube.
And you know what? We read out the cards. So I mean, if you're worried that you're going to miss something in the visuals, I mean, if you know the cards, you've played a lot. I don't think you're not missing a whole lot by just listening to the podcast. So
yeah, I mean, our visual element in the AV Club is basically a slideshow. So
yeah, hovering over the card.
Yes, except with a mouse cursor instead of a cool little laser.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the news, Tom. I think we've finally got the last couple of articles that we were looking for. So, do you want to run us through those?
Yeah. So this article is entitled "Where Doom Awaits," and it is announcing the penultimate Mythos pack in the Dunwich Legacy cycle. And so it gives us a little yes, it gives us a little tease of what we got to expect coming up. It seems as us as the investigators are going to be kind of venturing outside of Dunwich itself into the woods, and there's going to be kind of like tears in reality. It's like things are falling apart. Reality is going to hell in a handbasket, and we're just trying to survive and struggle to find our footing. So yeah, it says the woods outside of Dunwich are changing. You'll find clearings strewn with blood and bodies, rivers frozen solid despite the temperature air, and paths that rip open, revealing chasms through the dimensions and other worlds elsewhere in the void. And then it kind of proceeds to spoil some of the player cards that we can expect from this Mythos pack. So I don't know if we want to just jump into some of those right now.
Yeah.
Well, why not?
All right.
Because they're amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty incredible cards that they got spoiled for us here.
They're pretty
So the first one, I'll go ahead and just tackle this one. I'm not sure if Nick's with us yet, but so
I'm here, guys.
Oh, hey, he is here.
Oh, hey,
Hello,
it's
Nick.
Hi, guys.
Welcome aboard.
Yay, full attendance. He was here before noon, so we count him for the day.
Achievement unlocked.
All right. Okay, so this first card is a Guardian card. It's a level 4 Guardian event of a cost of 0. It's got 2 willpower and 1 agility icon. It has the trait Spirit, and it reads, Fast. Play when you are dealt damage and or horror. Cancel up to 5 damage and or horror just dealt to you. Then gain that many resources.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
This is so bonkers.
Like, what?
Just.
Yeah.
So Umardoth swings at you. You take a single damage, and he gave you $5. Like,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah. I don't know what else to say about this other than it's freaking amazing.
I don't think there's much else to say about it. It's
I mean, there's got to be an incoming Zoe build that just packs full of really high cost cards and then just gets all the resources.
So we were talking about who can tank.
This
Well.
is so tanky.
Yeah. And just a...
So,
Oh, God. Yeah, that's a good card.
yeah, it's really good. So what do you think is the average proc on this one going to be? Do you like you're rarely going to get the full 5?
I think,
I think 3 probably.
Yeah.
I think it's either 3 or 2.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
2 to
Yeah, 2
3,
or 3.
somewhere around there.
probably
So,
by the
sitting
end of
there-
the campaign, though, you'll be seeing that 5, I would bet.
Possibly, yeah.
And I mean, it is 4 XP. Like,
Yeah,
That's quite a
that's
high
not
price.
nothing. That's not nothing.
so I think it might be one of those cards you add, like Nick, like you were saying, like later on in the campaign, maybe like after 4 or 5 scenarios, like, okay, the enemies are getting big. Now it's time to tech this in. And
I'll tell you what, though. I play 2 copies of this card in standalone Rougarou, just because when he gets those attachments on him, it's like, well, no, I don't have to worry about those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that this is kind of a soft treachery counter for Guardians because, you know, a lot of treacheries are dealing either damage and or horror, and so that's a way of Guardians dealing with the things that can really hurt them, particularly the horror side of the equation.
Yeah, man, pulling a tentacle on rotting remains is a thing that happens.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, you just loot the corpse for a bunch of coins, apparently, which is a thing.
Which is also a thing that happens.
I think this is another Netrunner callback. Yeah, isn't there a I've had worse in Netrunner or something similar? I'm not super Netrunner familiar, but I
Yeah,
believe
I'm
so.
pretty sure it's just called I've Had Worse as well.
Yeah.
And it can't, if it's discarded from your hand via damage, then you draw cards immediately, so it like replenishes your hand. Yeah, there it is. Look at that. Good old helpful AI. So yeah, I love that kind of transference. And it's a cool effect, and it's so perfect for Guardian too. So yeah,
Agreed.
awesome card.
So yeah, moving on from this bonkers card, we have another one here in store. Ian, do you want to take this one, Ace in the Hole?
Oh, I surely do. This is a green rogue card, Ace in the Hole. It's an event, 0 cost, 3 experience, has the trick trait, exceptional, fast, play only during your turn, and you may take an additional 3 actions this turn.
Wow.
I guess the refresher for exceptional is that exceptional is 1 per deck, if I remember correctly, and it's double the experience too. So it's actually 6 experience to take on that bad boy.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a pricey card to buy for your deck, for sure.
But it's also a free turn. Like
it is. It is a free turn. It's massive. Think of what you could accomplish.
I remember there was a discussion on Discord when this got spoiled, and some of the other cards, and talking about how many actions could skids do in one turn theoretically. Like if you just had
game the system,
and it got up to like 46. Like it was just there was just some weird way to like it was. If someone in chat can remember the number, it was just ridiculous. But this was in that wombo combo.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that discussion. My head just started spinning, and I'm just like, I'm going to step away from this because this looks insane.
Or maybe it was 46 actions for the investigators as a whole, but either way.
It might have been it. I can't really recall.
Yeah, so.
Good lord.
Good card, though. I like this.
A bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's probably going to be later in your campaign, but... Mm-hmm. Because of
and as we're kind of getting to these big cost cards, this article does kind of mention that, like, are you going throughout your campaign? Are you going to kind of spend your experience points on a bunch of smaller XP cards, or are you going to try to stockpile them for some of these heavy hitters? And that kind of really changes how your character's deck is going to form throughout the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Ace in the Hole, this article does spoil a couple of locations, and I'll just mention them briefly. It looks like there's going to be a number of altered path locations in this scenario. So kind of as you're exploring the woods, you don't really know what's behind the woods when you're going to each location. But one of them is called the Eerie Glade, which reads, discard the top 2 cards of your deck for each action you have remaining. And that's when you reveal this location card. So if you dropped Ace in the Hole and charged right in, you're in a world of hurt. But on the flip side of that, it does mention another location card called the Uprooted Woods, which reads, after you reveal Uprooted Woods, discard the top 5 cards of your deck if you have no actions remaining. So again, you don't really know if you want to have a bunch of actions as you go into these woods or not. It's kind of
you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah,
that's cool. So that you can't fully game the system either way.
Exactly. I thought that was really clever.
I feel like our investigators should have figured out you don't go in the woods. I mean, did they not learn from the course, like the Night of the Zealot?
Just turn 1, resign.
Yeah. Or going
still the strongest
woods.
strategy.
Yeah. No, I'm not going in those woods.
But yeah, I think that wraps up pretty much the article for this Mythos pack, unless anybody else has any notes to add.
I was going to give this one the award for best cover art on a Mythos pack.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Until I saw the next Mythos pack.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, let's move on to this next article then, called Lost in Time and Space. And this is announcing the 6th and final Mythos pack of the Dunwich Legacy. So here it is, boys, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh boy.
This is the thrilling conclusion to our first massive 8-part campaign. And it seems like all hell has broken loose at this point. It doesn't really tell us too much other than the fact that we're kind of, as the title suggests, lost in time and space.
Lost in time and space.
Thank you. That's exactly what we needed. But yeah, basically reality has collapsed as far as we can tell, and the shit's hit the fan. And we're just trying to, I guess, we don't really know what our objective is going to be in this scenario. It seems like they're getting progressively vague with these kind of announcement articles, which I approve of. I don't really want to know quite yet
exactly
what our goal is. But so I guess It does mention that it's going to bring about it's going to tie up a lot of these decisions you've made over the course of the campaign. So, all those little notes that you have in your campaign log of what decision you made, I think a lot of them are going to come to fruition here, and that's going to be really exciting to see.
The guy whose luggage you stole?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. He's back.
You'll be waiting.
It's going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Like, just when you defeat the final boss, he comes along and clocks you with it.
Yeah.
He is the final boss.
He is the final boss.
Be amazing. But it does drop a couple of more player cards on us, and these ones, if you thought the last few were heavy hitters, geez, these are pretty beefy as well.
Yeah.
Nick, do you want to talk about this first one, the lightning gun?
I would love to.
Please.
The lightning gun is a 6-cost asset that also costs 5 experience points. It has an intellect and a combat skill icon.
It's a guardian
item,
card.
Weapon, Oh yeah, thank you. Guardian card. That's kind of important to talk about. Item, weapon, and firearm traits. It uses 3 ammo, and its text is action, spend 1 ammo, fight. You get +5 combat for this attack. This attack deals +2 damage, and it takes up 2 hand slots. So, wow.
Thor's cannon.
Yeah.
Basically.
So, comparing this to the shotgun, in your guys' experience, how often or how much do you generally do for damage with your average shotgun hit? Where are you at with it?
2 or 3?
Yeah, probably around the 2 or 3 range, I was going to say.
Yeah, like 3 is, I consider a good hit. Like, if you get 4 or 5, it's like, wow, you drew the Elder Sign or you got really lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like 3 is a good hit, so I think this is just a better shotgun.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
See, I've only played with shotgun in like 1 or 2 decks. I never find the experience for it, it seems. This seems pretty alright, though.
And the fact it gives you an extra ammo above shotgun as well, like you
Right.
get 3 instead of 2.
Yeah.
And +5 combat. I mean, like, you're going to hit it.
Like, you're
mental.
hitting whatever that is.
That being said, this card scares me, because what do we need to hit? Like, how big is this enemy that they're giving us something that gives us +5 fight? Like, oh boy.
That's a
this
valid
lightning
concern.
gun really makes me want to drop a double or nothing if I'm getting +5 attack.
Oh, yeah.
And then getting the 6 damage dream.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
So you're saying this is a Zoe card?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yes.
suppose you could just do that in multiplayer too. You wouldn't need it in the same deck.
Mm.
I was just trying to think of who could pull that combo off.
I'm so happy we got lightning gun. I was just playing Eldritch yesterday and got the lightning gun with Akachi and was decimating enemies left and right. So I'm happy to have it in the card game now as well.
It's a good card in both games.
Yes.
So our next card we have here, Scott, when do you want to take this one? The Chicago Typewriter.
I do. I love the name of this one.
Fantastic.
Oh, awesome. So 5 cost, 4 XP asset, Chicago Typewriter. It's a rogue card. It's got 2 fight pips, 2 combat pips. It's an item, weapon, firearm, and illicit. It has 4 ammo, and as an action, you can spend an ammo to fight. You may spend any number of additional actions when you perform this attack. You get +2 fight for this attack, or +2 combat for this attack for each action being spent, including this ability's action cost. This attack deals +2 damage, and it's 2-handed. So, default, you get +2 combat, and it deals a total of 3 damage. But you can spend extra ammo or extra actions to up your fight. So,
Yes.
I love it.
Hmm.
Just basically you're
Yeah.
just sat
Yeah,
there
it's-
holding down the trigger.
Right, yeah, the
Yeah.
theme is pretty strong in this.
And this is just a gross display of gun care. Just sitting there on the street in the rain. That's not where you want to leave an automatic weapon, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, what if
Speak
it's
from
10?
experience.
You know?
Yeah, it's Coitons. Yeah, I think I like it. It's like the only thing that Rogue has that's in this category, so hell yeah.
Right.
And Rogue is, at least so far, better positioned to just throw actions at this thing as needed, so it seems pretty okay.
Since I knew rogues were a thing, I desperately wanted a Tommy gun, and I'm so happy to have one, and that they called it the Chicago typewriter. Yeah, it's pretty much in the same category as lightning guns that, they're two-handed, cost a lot of experience. You're probably not going to waste them on little, putty enemies at the beginning of a scenario. You're probably going to pull them out at the end, so... Yeah,
whenever I see the two-handed weapons, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is the point where you're getting near the end of the scenario, your investigator comes across the big bad guy, you drop your flashlight, you drop your switchblade, and you're just pulling out this giant gun.
These are boss killers.
Yep. I don't need all this extra crap, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder when illicit is going to be a thing.
Right? That's what I was thinking.
Oh, man. But...
in the cops and robbers cycle.
Yeah, some treachery that targets. Oh yeah, that'd be rough. Who's your typewriter?
I wonder if there's going to be investigators, if you control a certain amount of illicit things,
or an investigator who's just completely straight edge, and you cannot include illicit cards in the deck.
Ooh,
a rogue character without any illicit cards. Have fun.
Yeah.
Oh God. You are no rogue. Get out of my class.
All right. Well, the article has one more card for us to talk about, and it says that although these two weapons we just saw are undoubtedly powerful, they're also relatively straightforward. And I guess there are some other cards from this pack that are decidedly not so straightforward. So, Sean, do you want to talk to us about the gold pocket watch?
Oh boy, I'll try. So the gold pocket watch is a unique rogue asset. It's level 4, 2 cost, has a willpower and a wild pip, item and relic traded, exceptional. So really 8 XP.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so it takes up the trinket spot or the accessory spot. Free triggered action. When a phase begins, remove the gold pocket watch from the game. Skip this phase. Also, free triggered action. After a phase ends, remove gold pocket watch from the game. Repeat that phase.
That's a big game.
So this is going in my grief deck to repeat.
I was
the
just
Mythos
thinking
phase.
that. Yep. Rogue class is the grief class.
Or skip the investigator phase.
Oh God! Repeat the Mythos
the
enemy phase.
Repeat the enemy phase to get more hunters and more attacks. Yeah, this is definitely a good troll card. Now, okay, so seriously though about this card.
Mm-hmm.
We have 34-ish card decks, we'll assume, by the time you can afford this. Probably higher than that because of, weaknesses and assets that get added to our decks.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably only ever going to be able to afford one of these throughout the course of a campaign.
Well, you can only have one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Exceptional lays that in there, too. Well, there you go. That is why, indeed, you will be able to afford only one in a campaign. And... you're sinking so much XP into this. It is a really bomb card, and it's really awesome if you see it. Now, is it worth it on the off chance that you don't? And that is 8 XP that you just don't see. That scares me.
Tough call. It's a tough call because if you do decide to save up that XP, it can be a game-changing card, in a scenario.
Right. Yeah.
It's like if you're able to skip a Mythos phase, that's huge right there.
But at the same time, looking at the experience that we're seeing on average from Dunwich scenarios, you're looking at 2-3 scenarios to afford this thing. 4 if you're doing really bad. 5 if you're playing like me. So probably that's a lot of scenarios to just go, I'm going to stick with a level 0 deck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's essentially what you're doing is, especially if this is an early buy, you're my deck's just going to be level 0 for a while.
The thing that makes my heart race even more is it'd be one thing, the question of just drawing it, but this cycle has all the stuff about discarding stuff from your deck.
Yes,
you just know you're going to see it flop to your discard pile, and you're just going to table flip at that moment, 8 XP down the drain.
Again, why I'm scared of this card a little bit.
No. That's the thing. Like if you're
Awesome,
playing like a campaign with like a 4-player campaign, I could see if 3 of the people around the table are shoring up their decks with smaller XP items,
Right.
and so you can kind of maybe round your XP together to spend big money on this. Maybe that could be a decent option.
Yeah.
It's hard.
This
though,
was
yeah.
also one of the cards when I was talking about that combo. How many actions can they take? This was obviously one of the cards that was mentioned to make that 46 action turn. So,
Yeah, I mean, in raw terms, it's definitely worth experience in terms of what it does for you. At least I think, especially in higher player counts, in solo, this is another 3 actions or whatever, but in 3 or 4 player, like everyone is getting extra actions. Like if you use it to repeat the investigator phase, like that's huge. You can do so much for that time. So
12 actions is nothing to sneeze at. Like that's
a
lot of work getting done.
I mean, it's definitely a rogue card in the sense it's a gamble. Like it could pay off for you and win you the scenario, or it could completely screw you because you wasted experience on it.
I think, yeah, I'm gonna avoid spending experience on this until we see the fetch for an accessory slot item, because
There you go.
I don't know, I don't like the idea, especially in this campaign, of it just getting milled out every scenario, and that would suck.
Yeah.
And it would happen.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, like, if you don't find a use for it, you can always chuck it for the wild pip, right? Because that'll help you with investigating or something.
I think if it's in my hand, I'll find a use for it. I think once it's there, it's safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I know
you
that's
wouldn't-
the one wild point.
Thank God I spent that
Value.
8 experience.
You
Chuck
wouldn't
it.
use this on a willpower check? Or, no? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure someone will at some point.
Yeah.
And then they
Oh,
won't be
that's
happy
sad.
about it, but they'll do it.
Yeah.
It is an item, so presumably you could scavenge if it ends up getting milled and try to grab it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going that wild to pay the experience, you might as well insure the thing, right?
Yes, that's true.
Cool card.
Yeah, that wraps up
Really
the
cool.
the player cards that we have to expect from this final Mythos pack, and it just leaves us with this eerie passage where it says, "But in the end, there will be no escaping the chaos. You may survive your adventure. You may return to Arkham. You may even return the professors to their former lives. But your life will never again be the same. You will never again be one of the blissfully ignorant and uninitiated." So that's what we have to look forward to.
Those professors aren't getting back unscathed with me, because they take damage as soon as it shows up. I'll tell you that.
I'm so scared now, though. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay,
Like-
so...
Like I said,
I'm sorry.
I'm afraid that they're giving us these incredibly powerful cards, because that means they're just gonna throw like the kitchen sink at us. Like, ugh.
I don't doubt for a second. Something bad this way comes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a foul. Something foul this way comes. What's the actual line?
Something
wicked.
wicked. Yeah.
There it is. Wicked. Thank you, guys.
Something wicked
Nerds.
this way comes.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us up on the news, right, Tom?
Yes.
Beautimus. So, guys, let's bust on into our discussion for the night. We're only 45 minutes in. Look at that. Good for us. I thought it would take us way longer to get through that. So, spoiler alert, everyone. We are now going to be talking in depth about the Miskatonic Museum and Essex County Express encounter experiences. So, picking up from where the Dunwich Legacy box left off, you either successfully or unsuccessfully found either or Warren Rice and Francis Morgan, and possibly even picked up Dr. Henry Armitage along the way.
Mhm.
And the first place that that Armitage says we must go, or you glean from Armitage that we must go, is to the Miskatonic Museum for the purpose of retrieving the Necronomicon. A very specific translation, I believe. He thinks that forces are going to try to use that for evil, because no one's ever done that before. So, talking about the player cards, I guess, a little bit starting out, we're going to save the full reviews again for the Miskatonic AB Club, so go check those out when they're there. Guys, any highlights for you? Nick, anything that stuck out to you?
Brother Xavier Like, oh my god, exactly what I needed in a Guardian deck. So I think I've done 2 of him every time I get the chance. Love him.
He certainly does help Roland out quite a bit, doesn't he? And Zoe too. Like if you're playing Zoe as kind of a true tank where you're taking lots of enemies, he's right there too. Yeah. Ian, how about you?
I think Pathfinder. Pathfinder is freaking amazing. Only 1 XP cost to.
I can't believe that card exists sometimes.
So as a free trigger during your turn, if you're not engaged with any enemies, you exhaust it and move to a connecting location. So a free move if there's no enemies engaged with you. That is freaking amazing for 1 XP. Like any free move in this game is super good in my opinion. And and if it's super cheap like this, and the fact that it's perpetual, repeatable over and over. Oh,
this
and
is
you can have
basically
2 copies.
Yes, another one. Yeah. It's not unique. That's ridiculous. This is basically Leo DeLuca, 90% of the time that doesn't take up an ally slot, and it's cheaper. Because I want to say 90% of the time when I've got that 4th action, more or less, to spend, one of those actions is a move.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, moving just eats up so many actions. I mean, you have to move around and get places, so anything that lets you do it faster is going to be good.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
I've got 2 of these in my Daisy deck, and I got them both. My wife and I sat down and played a game, and I got them both out on table, and then I had like 2 tomes out as well. Oh my god, yeah! Like I'm just zipping all over the place, and my poor wife kept getting bogged down with enemies, and I'm like, "Don't worry, I got these clues. Then I got these clues. Then I'll spin them over here. Then I'll get this." It was
Daisy
awesome.
just running around in the background,
flipping through pages of books frantically, and yeah, it was great.
You need to have the yakety sax, like.
So Scott, anything for you before we get to the best card in the pack?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be surprising because it's a super boring card. Painkillers, I think
I agree.
Amazing, and Smoking Pipe along the same lines, but like Painkillers, it keeps your nerds alive, right? Like look at Rex, look at Daisy. This card basically balances out their crazy health sanity stats. Yeah. Those 2 neutral cards I think are much stronger than I thought they were at first glance.
Agree.
Yeah, I think it was the Risa AV Club we were talking about how the investigators with balanced stats, like that's kind of the best stat line to have, and so this kind of gets you there.
And I think
I'm glad that these are neutral and early. I think the game needed these, and they're nice and elegantly done.
Just remember, do not exceed the recommended dosage.
I think Painkiller is the big one for me because there's so many enemies. Like most enemies deal damage in health, and less so in sanity. Like there's very few monsters or enemies that deal more sanity than physical damage, and so Painkillers.
Most of the horror comes from the encounter deck.
Yeah, or they'll be even, right? Like 1 and 1 or something. I just find it's usually physical health that I'm more worried about. Painkillers, awesome. But it's only aspirin.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And then there is that. I love that Painkillers came out in the same pack, or in the same like adjacent packs rather, not the same. To Pete Sylvester, because holy cow! I know I mentioned the Junkie Agnes build maybe a couple times ago that we recorded, but when you get it going where you can use Painkillers to take a horror, heal a damage, put it on Pete, he heals it off, and then you use Agnes's ability, and it's just I love these cards.
Yeah, it's kind of like
a little vanilla, but they're awesome.
Well, it's kind of like they got the idea that horror is going to be a problem, so we better sandbag it a little bit. Wow, yeah, Pete plus Painkillers is nuts.
Yep, you just not taking any horror ever.
Right.
And Tom, I don't know if you've had a chance to play with a whole lot of these. I know your play time has been reduced of late. Any favorites for you?
Yeah, I'm on that Pathfinder train.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's so
all about
good. But not quite as good, it turns out, as Delve Too Deep.
Bold, not true.
Oh man. So that's what the sound of wrongness is. Guys, it's such a good card. It's such a damn good card. Seriously. I've got in here. Let me grab my little ongoing. I bought myself a handwritten journal to do campaign notes in.
I like.
Since I've got it, I have 3 campaigns where I've included 2 of Delve Too Deep. I think 2 of them are. I've got 1 Jim, 1 Agnes, and 1 Zoe. So far in the Zoe campaign, Delve Too Deep has accounted for 5 experience. In the Jim campaign, 4. And in the Agnes campaign, 5 as well. And we are
A lot of encounter
4
cards.
scenarios in.
I could see this being very
so
strong in the
good.
Zoe deck. Because she's so good at just dealing with the encounter deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is.
Mhm.
And that she's paired with Rex in that campaign, so Rex is just the benefactor because Zoe just tanks. Anyway, Delve Too Deep. I know it's scary, guys. I know it seems scary. But fortune favors the bold.
There it is.
You know, I just recently, because I was moving, so I had a lot of extra time while I was driving from place to place, but I listened to just the audio of the Midnight Masks playthrough, because I missed that. I missed playing that with you guys on Octagon. And, you know, if I remember right from that scenario, fortune didn't favor the bold in that situation. I mean, imagine if you try to pop and Delve Too Deep there. Oof.
You'd resign with 1 more experience.
So I don't have a
Touche.
ton of experience with this card, so when are you generally playing it? Is this like I'm about to resign, let me just drop it and then pop out? Or are you ever playing it earlier in a scenario?
That's definitely happened a few times where you're like, you've been sitting with it in your hand and you get yourself set up and then you're sitting on the resign location or whatever it happens to be, or you're about to kill the experiment or whatever. And then, yeah, you're just, okay, one XP. Okay, another enemy. Who cares? Resign. See ya. But I think
Now, can you play
that's
this like?
probably,
Can you play this as like you're the, let's say the rest of your team is resigned, and then you're the one investigator remaining, so you play it and you just draw 1 card, and then
Yes.
and everyone
that's the
gets
better way to do it.
Oh, man.
That's the better way to do it because then everyone gets to partake of that sweet VP
Mm-hmm.
or XP, which, you know,
They should miss out.
the game poops out as from VP.
I guess it's hard to wrap my head around because I'm still so stuck in Lord of the Rings mode where every encounter card is bad unless you're talking about like the first cycle, maybe the second cycle. But in Arkham, there's a lot of times where cards just whiff or you can deal with them. So
Yeah, and that's the
yeah.
thing is like you see way more encounter cards, I guess, per playtime in Arkham, I
Yeah.
think, because, you know, every 3 actions or so, you're going to see an encounter card. And they just kind of like I won't say there's never been a time where I didn't go, ooh, but there's also never been a time where I've regretted playing Delve Too Deep. So
So, Sean, if you get this like turn 1 or 2 in your hand, do you sit on it until the end of the game? Or if
No,
there's something that
not
causes you
generally.
to discard?
Well, it's got
Okay.
no tips to, it's got no skill icons on it.
Right, but if like a treachery says discard a card, or if like you face the Yithian Observer or something, you know, to me, I'd be like, well, I guess I'll get rid of Delve Too Deep, but
yeah,
that's coming from a Guardian. So,
and honestly, I think Zoe, like, this is great in Agnes because she can deal with enemies really well and she can deal with, you know, whatever else the encounter deck's going to throw at her. But Zoe is another, this works so well in Zoe because it's like, okay, play 1 cost. She's got really high willpower, so she can generally do okay against those kinds of things. And if it's an enemy, oh my, this just became a free event and now I have an enemy to kill. Whatever shall I do?
mhm. Man, though, play this in 4-player, and then like someone else draws an enemy, and then ends up like getting taken out by it. Oh man, that's. Oh, I mean, so sorry on them, but oof, that would suck. You know, I don't know. I'm not sold on it, but I'm not a Mystic player, so.
Well, I mean, you do still consider positioning. You just generally play it anyway.
You
So
think
yeah,
about it.
exactly. It's the anyway that scares me.
You guys will learn to love it. We just need to play more games together.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
See, I'm rogue, so I'm out of here anyway. So whatever, go for it.
There it is. See, you got the get out of jail free card, VP and
Yep.
gone.
And I'm a Guardian, so I just have to deal.
And great card
Okay.
for a
Deal
grief
with it.
deck, too. I mean,
Yeah.
when everyone's just swamped, delve too deep, I'm out of here. Just see you guys.
Who could play that? I suppose any of the Dunwich investigators
Jenny.
could technically play that.
Yeah.
They're all level 0s. Anyway, try that card out before you judge it. It's like, it should seem really good to you, but if it doesn't, it's better than you think it is. So talking then about the actual scenario. So this one had, I thought, a pretty cool opening where you actually are locked out of the scenario to begin with.
Yes.
So you essentially have the option to either get the attention of the security guard by gathering the clues, or you can make a pretty big fight combat. Why am I so bad at remembering? Combat test and bust in. So which one do you guys find yourselves taking more often?
I've done the clues every time.
Me too.
Yeah. It seems easier to me. I don't know.
I have on my table right now a Wendy and Roland Dunwich Legacy campaign. This is the first one where I've busted down the door. Just because I happened to get my beat cop and an overpower in my opening hand with Roland. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to save the actions. We're going in.
Yeah, fair.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I had my first break in last night. That sounds funny out of context, but it was my two-handed Rex Zoe campaign, and Zoe happened to draw physical training and then lucky. So I said, "Oh yeah," but so first action, I dropped the physical training, and then basically she just Hulk smash right through the door, and that was it.
Nice.
It worked out pretty well. But other than that, I usually go because the combat 5 is pretty tough because you can't apply like weapon bonuses to it. So something like physical training or skill is kind of what you need.
And what's also interesting is that the location doesn't have clues per player. It's just straight 2 clues.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it matches exactly to the act. But yeah, that is interesting. It doesn't scale. I suppose maybe that is way too many actions to compare to the one action or so that it might take to bust through. So they kind of had to keep it equitable. Yeah, that is interesting. I found for my Zoe campaign, I happened to I initially thought like, hey, I'm playing Zoe, let's bust through this time. Well, I had drawn to the flame in my opening hand, and that's just too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else get the feeling that Zoe's true off class is Mystic? I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah,
Oh, I felt that way as soon as I opened her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ian, you were actually saying something of substance.
No, carry on with the Mystic love. I was gonna say it's pretty cool that the which path we've seen that a few times, but even with something as simple as how you get in, like it may seem on the surface at the beginning that it's just a matter of like how are you going to get in the door, but then it actually affects like what happens later in the narrative, and so that's pretty cool.
So how do you guys feel that, and honestly I've looked at him but I've not actually played with him yet, on the difference between having Adam the security guard or Harold the curator? Harold seems on his face way more useful.
Yeah, well, because I just first broke through last night. That was the first time I ever controlled Harold, and I was like, really? +2 intellect while investigating? That it's pretty good. I don't remember like using the Adam Lynch, actually.
Yeah, because he saves you an action on using the ability on the security office, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty nothing. One thing I do like about that, though, is it's kind of adaptive difficulty, right? So if you can't get clues to get in the gate at the beginning of the game and you had to resort to breaking in, then later in the scenario, you're actually given a character who helps you investigate, because presumably you were not in a good place to investigate.
Right.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty cool way to even out true solo, because there are those investigators, since this scenario specifically is so intensely focused on successfully investigating. That I thought that was a cool way to level it out.
So I think kind of the really interesting thing about this scenario is like this is the first one we've seen that is it takes that kind of like one, and there's only going to be one enemy you're dealing with in this deck, approach, and everything else is going to be treacheries or ways to pull that enemy out. I feel like it's a really hard design challenge because you know, a lot of the pressure of an encounter deck or a scenario is wondering like, am I going to draw an enemy next, and how is that going to, like, you know, in a lot of ways, enemies are basically just like action suckers, you know, like they take up actions, and that's one of their primary purposes of kind of taxing your health and sanity. So when you don't have that, when you know, okay, if that enemy is in play, then I'm not going to draw anything else, it can take away some of that tension, because all you know is that you have to deal with the treachery. So I don't know, how do you guys feel about like how successful they pulled that off in this particular scenario?
I liked it. I mean, it makes Zoe's signature weakness just whiff, which is awesome.
Yeah.
If the hunting whore is out, like, you're just like, okay, I discard the encounter deck.
You know what's real bad though? when her weakness hits the hunting whore.
Yes, that is
because
bad.
if I'm not mistaken, he never actually leaves play if he's in the void, right? Does her Smite the Wicked stay on it if he if she defeats him, or does it fall off?
I think it falls off. There was
like thematically, it would make sense that it would stay on
Spawn.
until it's dead.
No, I'm pretty sure everything but Shadow Spawn falls off.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then not so bad.
Yeah. But I really like the design. I felt like the hunting whore was actually hunting and like dipping in and out and stuff. I thought it was cool. I found it kind of easy. I'm not sure if I played it incorrectly, because I know there was some issues with people wondering, okay, when do the resource tokens you put on it, when do they come, when do they go, and stuff. But yeah, my wife and I played through it once, and I played through solo, and I didn't find him that threatening. So
yeah, it was interesting because instead of feeling like I was being hunted through the museum by him, I felt more like it was just a big game of whack-a-mole, where the mole got a little bit bigger each time, but you still put him down inside of a turn.
You're just biting your ankles.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
See, that was interesting for me. I can't even remember who I played it with first, so I don't know if I can attribute this to the Gator, but first time I played it, I went with the just kill it every time I see it approach. And it ended up biting me in the ass, because I swear to God, every time that thing came out, it would get the treachery that lets it attack you. And like whenever it would ready, it freaking readied it. You know, that thing it does at the where you reveal a token. If it has a special icon, you ready it at the start of the enemy phase, so it hunts anyway, even if you evaded it. But yeah, so the first time I played through it, I took the approach of just beat up on it, and I did not fare well. So I am kind of the mind now that the approach is you play cat and mouse with it until you can't, until it gets doom, or until whatever else you need to kill it for needs to happen, and then you kill it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the central strategy is like, are you going to kill it at will or try to evade it and take that approach? I think it partially depends on player count, because the more players you add, the more chance you can draw those ones that pull it back out. And in solo less so, but yeah, I do think overall it's on the easier side, but the one play I actually failed was Jenny, unfortunately. My poor Jenny. And that was because I kept drawing over and over every time I killed him, so that was probably my fault. I should have taken the evade approach. First, I think I drew the like cultist token, and if you fail, he comes back out.
Go grab
and then I killed him, and then I drew the treachery that brought him back out, and then so basically
slithering behind you.
3 turns in a row, he just kept coming back over and over. So I think that's one of those like 1 in 10, 1 in 20 cases where a scenario just screws you. But I mean, that is a danger if it just keeps coming back again and again.
Yeah, I think in a 4-player game, a good strategy might actually be to have one person be the designated tank and just, try to evade.
Just run
him
interference.
And just sit there and like all the other gators can run around, get clues, finish stuff, and then this one gator's just sitting there, just like, hi, just taking beats. So
that's actually, I'm in the middle of that play, like I said, and that's actually my current strategy. Like I've built kind of a dodge tank Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
And Roland has Pathfinder out, so he's just zooming around the museum taking care of shit. And Wendy's like, haha, over here. Neener, neener.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with all there being only one enemy, is that one gator can kind of take on that role and just tank it. The thing about the evade approach is usually it'll work, but last night when I was playing the Zoe Rex, every single because it has the effect you draw a token and it readies during the enemy phase if you draw one of the special ones, and every single time last night I drew one of the special ones.
Yeah,
so all my evading did nothing. So I was like, that's it. I'm just killing this thing. Forget it.
Overall, I liked the scenario, though. I like dipping into the exhibits and kind of not knowing what you're going to get until you get there. And I don't know how many times I've dipped into the damn, which one is it? The Egyptian is... No. It's the nature exhibit. Oh, my God. I've dipped into the nature exhibit so many times with only 2 cards in my hand, and that's the one where when you enter it, you have to randomly discard 2 cards from your hand. Oh, so aggravating.
And is that the one where you have to have a certain amount of cards? Oh, no.
No, that's the admin office.
Right.
Yeah. Any other favorites among the locations? I'm just trying to remember what the other ones are.
Let's see.
There's the Egyptian, the Akabashka.
Yeah, that one.
Akabashkin or something.
Immediately end your turn when you walk into that location.
Right.
Athabaskan.
Yeah, that. Yep.
Oh yeah, that's
that?
the one where it's like super easy to dip in and like lose the horror, but
yeah, and there's no clues.
Right.
Yeah.
Also a problem.
Slightly. Yeah.
So then once you kind of get to the end, then the hunting horror jumps you again when you finally get to the restricted hall. I think presumably at that point it's probably got a few tokens on it. Maybe it ends up being a little bit more of a boss. I don't know. I too find this scenario not terribly hard, but I enjoy playing it. It's fun. I think it makes you make interesting decisions, especially as it pertains to movement and investigation. Because of all those negative effects of when you fail a skill test at the certain exhibits.
Yeah.
And
it's a fun little jaunt through a museum.
So what are you guys often finding you're getting for resolution and XP? I'm looking through my notes here. Ooh, only 2 in my Duke campaign.
Yeah, it was low. I think we only got 2 or 3.
5 in my Zoe and Rex campaign. Guess what I can attribute that to?
No one cares.
Yeah.
And then, only 3 with Agnes.
Yeah, it's generally on the lower side, like 2 or 3, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
because the hunting horror himself doesn't have any VP, so the only VP you can get is from the exhibits, and that you first have to get them on the table, get there, and clear the exhibits to get the VP, and it's just there's so many. I think there's 4 you can get total.
I think it's 5.
Is it 5?
Yeah, 5 total. Yeah, okay. I think my wife and I only got 2 or 3, and the restricted hall was one of them. But yeah.
Overall, I like the scenario. Any closing thoughts on
what'd you guys do with the book?
oh yeah, there you go. I suppose let's hit the last story beat.
Yeah, the big question.
I haven't thus far been very big into role playing my investigators and making the story decisions based on that. But this is the first one where I consistently go, all right, what would this investigator do with it?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So Ashcan took it because he's a hoarder.
Okay.
Haven't hit it with Zoe and Rex yet. Agnes took it for sure. Never mind. I had a bad run with Agnes and got kind of murder faced by the hunting horror, and she actually failed to recover the Necronomicon. That shit got stolen.
Yeah, that was like my Jenny play. I've so far destroyed it. I do tend to make a lot of the decisions kind of role playing since I have so many campaigns going, and the ones I've done it with so far just torch the thing. The one investigator who I think would have taken it, Jenny, failed, so I didn't get a chance to get it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I totally I burn that thing every time. I don't do the role playing thing. Like, I'm role playing Scott Armstrong playing a game. So and here's my theme deck of 30 good cards. I I burned it, and we're talking about outcomes too, right? Like the worst-case spelling. And the first time we made that choice, when my wife and I were playing, we're like, "Oh, it's a Necronomicon. Should we take it? I mean, it's pretty good." But I'm like, "But it's also the Necronomicon." I'm like, "This thing is horrible." Like, I don't know many things, but I know this book is bad. So we burned it, and then I went and read the other resolution because I was curious and I just didn't care. And I was like, "Oh, I'm really glad I didn't get that Elder Thing token." So
I have added that Elder Thing token to the Chaos Bag every single time I finish this scenario. I have not burned it yet, which seems totally weird. Like, me looking at how I talk and how I talk about Guardian and consistency and all that and limiting variables. But God, just that one action for 2 resources, especially in my Roland deck, that has changed the pace of his deck. So I gotta take it every time.
Can you afford the hand slot?
Usually I have a weapon and then I have enough other stuff going so that his investigating is still decent. Of course, I'm hoping to get enemies to make that, to compress those actions. But yeah, I found it hasn't been too much of an issue. Usually that takes priority in the hand slot, actually.
Fair enough. I've yet, in the investigators where I've taken it, I've yet to actually see it in Essex County. So I honestly have not actually played the Necronomicon down to the table yet, which is sad. Because it's kind of unfortunate to take a damn token and then have a one of in your deck. So yeah, so let's talk about it purely mechanically. That's a pretty bad deal, right? Like, even though the Necronomicon itself is a good card, it's a one of in your deck that's already gotten probably 36 cards ish at this point, assuming you've saved someone. And you're taking an Elder Thing token to the bag, which is, depending on how well you've managed your bag up to that point, is a hit. I don't think it's a good deal.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do with if you don't recover the Necronomicon. Like, I'm excited to see the story. Yeah.
How much it changes? Yeah, that could get really interesting.
Yeah. Like the whole lost in time and space thing. If someone who is also lost in time and space has the Necronomicon. Oh boy. So.
All right. So that's the Miskatonic Museum. Choo-choo! All aboard to the Essex County Express.
Oh, man.
All right, so this one. Player cards. Any standout thoughts? Scott, let's start with you first.
Charisma is the...
Yes.
Okay, hang on. Before you finish. When I was going around the table, was anyone not going to choose Charisma? Shorter list, I feel.
Perhaps. I mean, I'll jump out and I say I'd really like to Stand Together.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guardian card, so you and another investigator both draw 2 cards and gain 2 resources. Yes, please.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Especially for higher player counts, where just like you're more likely to be somewhere where that can happen.
For sure.
It's pretty good efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Switchblade.
But yeah, I'm not gonna hate on Charisma because that's a pretty amazing card as well.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard too. Yeah,
right. Especially if you're playing like Ashcan Pete and you got Duke out and play ready to go. So it's like, yeah, throw this down.
Just get an entourage.
Yeah.
It's the first card that I've actually proxied, when it was revealed. You don't even have to proxy it. You just write down.
You just know
I bought
that you
Charisma.
have it.
Just say you have Charisma. Yeah.
Mentally proxied it.
I'm just so glad that this didn't end up in Rogue or I don't know, Seeker. The fact that this is a neutral card.
Yeah, screw Rogues.
Yeah.
they got adaptable.
I'm out of here.
Which I'm pretty. But oh my god! I mean, I know it's a cost up front, but then I don't know. I'm always pretty cognizant of how many allies I keep in my deck. In a deck's construction, even the decks that are kind of swimming in resources and could pay for the higher cost, higher impact cards that tend to be allies, you're still restricted by that bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
Except you're not anymore,
right?
And you could buy 2 Charisma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife. Yeah, my wife and I are doing a Daisy Zoe deck or Daisy Zoe game, and she is playing a very ally heavy Zoe. So when she was looking at spending experience, I'm like, well, you could get Charisma. And she's like, ooh, so she did. And then when she was looking at spending experience after another scenario, I'm like, well, you could get charisma. And so she's running 2 charismas. Still haven't seen enough allies hit the table to vouch for it, but anytime she has to get rid of an asset, I'm like, just get rid of your second charisma. It's not doing anything right now. You only have 1 ally in play. Just do that. So, like, even if you don't get 3 allies in play, which hasn't happened yet for us, like, it's at least something that it doesn't have actions, it doesn't have any other ongoing effect other than, play another ally. So it's kind of, to me, it's like a freebie if you have to ditch an asset in play. If you have 2 of them. If you have 1, no. But if you have 2, yeah.
I think that was actually FAQ that permanents can't be ditched.
Yeah, it says a card with a permanent keyword cannot be discarded by any means.
Yeah.
Okay, well there's a, yep, alright, we'll have to... Did I say ditch it? I wasn't talking charisma, I meant...
an alley.
Yeah, flashlight. I told her to ditch flashlight.
Yeah. I really like...
Well, that sucks.
Like charisma too, especially if you have those allies that come into play, do something like draw you cards, and then they're just sitting there. Like, it's good to have 2 ally slots where one is like, Dr. Milan, and he's going to stay out, and then you have a rotating ally slot where you can just like put cats or librarians or whatever, right? Like, just yeah. So it's super handy to not have to throw away your beat cop or something.
Yeah, I think. And I'm like, I just don't know what deck doesn't take this, because you build most decks with a key ally in mind, and maybe you also throw in another transient one like, guard dog or stray cat or something like that. And then there's often the dilemma that comes up where you find your more permanent one first, and then you draw into the ones that are meant to be transient, and it's like, well, all right, I guess you're just icons now. Or the other problem I would have is I would get these, pretty decent scenario-based allies and toss them in my deck. But this deck's already kind of built with another ally in mind, so I guess you're probably never going to actually hit the table. Well, Charisma solves that problem too. It's just so good.
Yeah. Upgraded Switchblade is really good too. That for the 2 XP, get +2 fight, and it's basically the same thing, I believe.
Yes.
Like +2 fight, and then if you beat it by 2, it does an extra damage.
Yeah. It's so much better than the original.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Like, it's
so intensely better.
It's such a ridiculous contest. Like, yeah. So, it's a good splash weapon.
I'm surprised no one's mentioned I'm out of here yet.
I haven't even used it. Like, I haven't even put it in a deck yet.
Just all talk then, huh?
Yeah.
Ian?
I love the idea behind it.
Ian, have you laid down I'm out of here yet?
Looks like he's muted.
All right. Well, for my part, one that I'm still trying to figure out whether I like it or not. Like, I still don't know whether I like it, is Hypnotic Gaze. Like, so it's okay. So it's kind of like Dodge. Yeah, okay. So it's kind of like Dodge, but it's not in Guardian, so it costs more. It costs 3 to cancel an attack. Cool, fine. That makes sense to me. It's a spell, so you can grab it with things. And you have this, and it depends on what difficulty you're playing on, but you have like a 30% or so chance to hit the enemy for its own damage. I think I like it, but I don't know if I'm ever going to. I mean, I like it. I like the design of it, and the art is awesome. Yeah. But I don't know if I'm ever going to include it. Right? Because I think the Mystics we have right now are both fairly well equipped to deal with enemies, and you don't necessarily need an effect like this at 3 cost.
I mean, the good thing is it's not when a non-elite enemy attacks, it's any enemy attacks. So you can make Umgardoth punch himself in the face, which is hilarious to think about.
That would be goddamn satisfying.
Yeah. And then I've had worse the next time he hits or something. Anyways, but I've tried to use it a couple times, and the 3 cost is just huge, I found. And that's what's holding this card back for me, was having 3 spare resources available mid to late game, where I want to spend it to dodge a single attack. I'd rather put something out like Shriveling and just kill something for those 3 resources. But
Point of note about this card, too, is that if your Dunwich campaign is going particularly bad, this card gets a lot better. Like, if you have 2 tablets and 2 Elder Things added to the bag, like, whew,
That's fair.
those odds are pretty good.
And looking at the standalone bags.
So, scenario 7, if you failed 1 through 6, pick this one up.
And looking at the standalone bags, those tend to have more, the special symbols in them too. So,
yep, yeah, Carnival. This one's good because you have 3 skulls instead of 2 in Carnival. So
this in a gym deck in Carnival. Oof.
Oh, give me that grotesque statue, baby.
Yeah,
yeah. Still don't think this is an auto include though.
No,
it's good, but it's very situational.
I think it's a one of. It's
I'm at like a one of.
Sure. Yeah.
To me, this is the definition of a one of in a spell deck for me. All right. So then moving on to... Oh, wait, hang on. Have we covered everyone? I don't want to skip anyone.
Can I just say that I was super excited when I saw Bandolier, and then every time I go to upgrade my deck, I'm like, I don't need this. Like, I really don't. Like, how often am I having 2 weapons plus something else, or 3 weapons?
I think
you know what I mean?
This is a, hey, make a 2-handed weapon a 1-handed weapon card.
Yeah.
Like
right.
the lightning
No,
gun.
I agree.
Yes, which is far
when
less
I get the
useful
lightning
at
gun,
the
it very
moment.
well may change. Right.
It allows you to like tape a flashlight to your lightning gun. So.
Might throw off your aim a little bit, but it's lightning.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk then about the scenario a little bit. So the Essex County Express. So the first notable thing you do to set up this is you just get a token, and they're generally not good. Yeah, you just get a token. So if I remember correctly, easy gets a -2, normal gets a -3, hard a -4, and I think is it a -5 for expert nightmare, whatever that's called.
I'm not sure.
Anyway,
5 or 6.
It's a 5.
All I know is this pissed me off to no end. It's a 5, okay. When I read that, I'm like, I didn't even do anything. I'm just playing the game. Like, what are you? What is this?
I was just a bystander in this.
Right. I'm literally just reading what I have to do to set up. Oh, make it worse. Okay, thanks.
I think that was just a sign, like, it's getting real now. Like,
right.
You were on out the shallow end of the pool now, and now it's getting real.
The gas turns up. So I think obviously the distinctive thing about this scenario is the location setup and the way movement works, and it's brilliant for the setting. So you've got a random, I think it's one of 3 different engine cars, and then you get like 6 out of 8 possible train cars, and set those up just all in a line. And then you just have to go straight through to the engine car. You're just going car to car, all the way to the engine. And
you make
I
it
thought
sound
it was
so
brilliant.
easy.
Yeah, well, it's simple, not easy.
Yeah.
So, what did you guys think of the way the cars all kind of worked in tandem together?
I thought it was cool at first, and then I guess I kind of thought, well, this one's going to be the one that does combat. This one's going to be, as far as those 4, like the 4 basic ones, they're just kind of mirrors of each other. So it was interesting, but then the more I did it, I was like, okay, I know I need this for here, and
One thing I thought was interesting is that only 1 of the 8 cars had possible victory points on it, and I think of the 3 times I've played it so far, I've only seen it once. I don't know what the actual odds are. I suppose that would be what chance of 1 out of 8 in 6 draws. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've done
75%
stats.
chance.
Something around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very XP light overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
all right. Well, what did you guys think?
I'm not even sure my wife and I got XP. I may have gotten 1.
Well, yeah, because there's the 1 location, and then there's 2 enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's only 2.
I think we only got 1 XP.
Yeah, so if you're not packing delve too deeps, it can be a light scenario.
Yeah,
So,
I think the interesting thing with this scenario is a lot of the initial reaction and my own reaction was it's kind of like on the easier side, but I think it also is you can get if you draw a wrong sequence of cards, you can just get completely hosed by the scenario as well.
Hella
So I
bone.
Right. It's very extreme one way or the other.
And like my first Ashcan solo play, he just breezed through it, which tends to happen with Ashcan sometimes because Duke is just ridiculous. But then my Jenny, it was down to just the engine car at the end, and that was super fun and tense. Like when you can get those tense plays of the scenario, it's a lot of fun because it's like, oh my god, like I'm about to get sucked into the rift. And I think those are the best games of this scenario.
To me, it felt exactly like those old Mario levels where the level was falling apart behind you and you just had to keep going. Otherwise, you'd fall into oblivion. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna jump ahead to the stealing the luggage part. That is a stroke of genius. I mean, so I can just imagine Matt sitting at the design table / computer, whatever. And he's like, all right, so I've have the Pavlovian response in them that whenever someone has to remember something, it's bad. And so my wife and I go into this car. It's like, oh, gain 3 resources. We could really use that money right now. But then we've stolen someone's luggage. And it's like, no, we better not. Like last time we had a drink and it was horrible and everything like that. And then you get to the end of the game and you're like, I could have taken someone's luggage. And the fact that, like, it does nothing. Some people are thinking, oh, maybe they totally forgot it. I think this is just... Yeah, Matt is just causing us real-life mental trauma. It's beautiful.
I mean, just the idea that not everything... like has consequences, like that's true to like RPG experience. Like a good DM in an RPG will like make you think that everything's going to come back to you, but not everything is going to come back to you, but you have to at least have the fear in the players so that they just don't think they can go around the world and do whatever they want. And so that's what I think this role is. It's like putting that fear in you that, say, yeah, sometimes your stuff will come back to you, sometimes it won't.
Yeah. Oh, no, I forget what I was gonna say. Yeah.
It's just kind of a moral gut check, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if you think about it too, like half the passengers are getting sucked into the void. So the guy whose luggage you stole, like he doesn't need it anymore, right?
And if you leave it there, it's probably gonna get sucked into the void anyway. So really, you're rescuing the luggage.
Rescuing. Helpless luggage. Yeah.
It's helpless luggage.
Don't worry, luggage, I got you.
Yeah, the best would be if you steal the luggage and then leave the helpless passenger there.
Dude, that's like $60 in this briefcase.
Which is a lot in 1927.
Yeah.
So it says remember that you have stolen a passenger's luggage. So it's not it's not recorded in your campaign log. So doesn't that generally mean that whatever happens within that scenario? I just can't remember ever having seen what...
Exactly.
Okay, well...
Yeah.
I was just not sure if that was an official rule or if there might be a chance this still could come back.
They put it in the FAQ, from what I remember. They specified, like, remember means you don't write it down, it doesn't come back, that kind of thing.
So, strategically then, I guess you just steal that luggage every time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
now
I
that
think
you
so.
know, like if you're gonna power game this scenario, you're like, sweet, 3 resources, thanks, and keep going, right? So.
Yep.
So as you go on through, I think one card I want to call special mention to is the big enemy, which is called, I just had it in my hand, Emergent Monstrosity. So it sets up like in the doorway of the next car. It comes into play exhausted.
So it's an ent.
Yeah, it's essentially a
Lord of the Rings joke.
Drink. Yeah, so I liked the design of this because it ended up being a big block. I mean, it's not a small enemy. It had 5 health, 4 fight, 2 horror, and 2 damage. So it's a thing to get through. And for the most part, when you're doing well, you don't care to take a couple turns to deal with a big enemy because then you get the VP. the big VP out of it, and that's just gravy. But when you're kind of behind and that car behind you gets sucked into the void and you're not quite have this location cleared of locations, or of clues rather, and words, and that thing pops out, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Because then it essentially becomes Gandalf. Because you cannot pass.
Yes.
Yeah, it's scary.
Oh.
I liked the design of it, though. I thought it was a cool little way to throw up kind of like a legit roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it enters play exhausted, so you have the opportunity, if it's in, if you're able to, at least, you can, like, ditch by it and grab the clues and hopefully get through if you got your Pathfinders, But, so there's the opportunity to just straight up ignore it. But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's also not elite, which is
right.
because there's a lot of cards that are like, oh, non-elite enemies. Like, you do have tricks to deal with this guy, which I liked. But, yeah.
So one other thing I was kind of disappointed with storyline-wise was that, and I don't know, maybe it's cooler, because I go back and forth on this on horror movies always, but I thought it was interesting that we kind of got teased with like a few little images of the monster that's assailing the train from without. We got all these little enemies from within, but there's some kind of winged beast, seems to be made of steam, that's attacking the train from the outside, and we never actually get to see the thing. Like, it's not in any of the art, as far as I know. We get to see a claw in a treachery, but beyond that, it's kind of a mystery what was attacking us. It's almost like that episode of Doctor Who when they're on the ice planet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Quiet, Nick.
This is the resident non-Whovian. I don't know if
got
anyone
you,
else
Sean.
is.
I know what you're talking about.
So, sorry, go ahead, Ian.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think the highlight of this scenario, other than the luggage for me, was the helpless passengers.
Yes.
I like having NPCs in there. That's just kind of the classic, like, I have to rescue these people. It was interesting because I thought in the resolution there was going to be something related to how many you saved or let die, but there wasn't. It was just kind of that sanity penalty. But for some reason, I still felt compelled to save them. And so every time they popped up, I was like, yeah, because roleplay. And I do find myself doing a healthy bit in this game compared to most other card games, so I'm like, I have to go back. My favorite moment, though, is I went back with Jenny, grabbed the guy. He got all the way to the engine car with me, and then the claws of steam came.
Oh, no.
And swatted him straight out the window. I was like, well.
True horror.
That was like totally something that would be out of like a TV show or a movie. Where
Definitely.
Poor guy makes it to the end, and out he goes.
Just at the last second as the jump scare.
That passenger had a red shirt on.
Yeah, yep, he did.
Didn't start that way, but Arkham.
Yeah.
So then, as you get to the engine, so I thought the engine was pretty cool. So you have the 3 different variants on it. Some basically, the first one has really low shroud, but when you reveal it, you get 3 encounter cards. Oh, that one. Every time I read it, I still go, whoo. Because, delve too deep. 1 encounter card, it's not that big a deal. But 3 encounter cards at once, and you don't know for sure that that's the engine car you're going to get. Brutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The second one has 2 shroud, and you go get a grappling horror. Not that bad, I don't think. That's probably the gentlest of them. And then you've got the 4 shroud that essentially has no text.
It's just 4 shroud.
Yeah, it's just 4
clues
shroud.
Per investigator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I don't know, 4 shroud, depending on your investigator, can be a much harsher penalty than either of the other 2. But oh man, that 3 encounter cards one. Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just from a story perspective, I like getting the other 2. The 4 shroud with nothing else is kind of like a downer to me. It's like as like a climax to the story. Yeah, the other ones are more like, oh, like what am I gonna get with those 3 encounter cards, or even a last enemy to fight?
Right.
Well, the flavor text though on the 4 shroud one, it basically says, the conductor's not there. You have to figure out how to start the engine on your own. It's like you're figuring out how to restart a train. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I get the theme of it. I'm okay with it. Because then I don't have to deal with terrain encounter. Yeah, I mean, it is the most boring, but boring's okay in Arkham sometimes.
This is
well,
fair.
there is the final test before the engine card too.
Yeah.
Where you can pick up like it's either physical or mental trauma, I think.
That's not. Is that on the act?
Mhm.
Yeah, the back
The
of
act that flips when you get to the card. Yeah, that one.
Mhm.
That one's pretty intense. That one you want to keep some cards around to make sure you can. I like that you get to choose at least, so that way you can at least get your best option out of it.
Yeah. Let's just say I drew a tentacle on that with Jenny, and now she has an extra trauma.
Oh.
And then searching for Izzy popped on the back end on the caboose.
Yeah, she's having a bit of a rough campaign so far.
Oh. So this one, I think, was the first one that didn't really have a whole lot by way of resolution differences. I think, if I remember correctly, there's really only the one resolution. It's just a variance in you either get to the end without resigning, or you reach the no resolution one, and then whatever experience you get. Right. So you guys mentioned this one's a little experience light. What have you been seeing? I think the 3 times I've got this, I've been either 2 or 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played it twice, and I have 1 experience both times.
1 XP.
So a little lighter, a little kind of unfortunate, but
I have to admit, I was a little disappointed with the resolution. I got R1 both times.
Damn it, Tom.
Where it was a really boring. Oh, awesome, Tom. It was a really boring 3-sentence paragraph. It's like, you got the train going again. Hooray. The end.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you kind of know where it's going at that point. It's on tracks.
Yeah, but I don't know. I found it a little bit boring, but
yeah, I would agree with you, Scott. And in fact, I'm going to be the naysayer here. Big surprise. In that I was so excited for this scenario, and then when I actually played it, I was like, this one isn't as fun as I hoped it would be. So, well, maybe I got to do it again. So I played it again. I'm like, no, it's just not as fun as I wanted it to be. So that's on me. That's my expectations and what I thought we were going to get versus what we got. It's still a very well-designed scenario, and it has some very cool moments in it, like we talked about. But I'm just, when I think of Dunwich, this is the low point for me.
And to be fair, your imaginations were, running wild with all these crazy possibilities. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and like I said, it's totally on me. I don't blame the design team at all for this. I was just thinking, we're on a train. It's going to be moving. We get to. I was thinking action movie stuff.
I don't have to battle an AI with riddles. What? What is this?
Or yeah.
I mean, you kind of get there. I think like I said, the cars falling off the back of the train, or rather getting sucked up off of the back of the train,
that was
adds
a cool
decent amount of tension. I do think that maybe the actual traversal through the rail cars might have benefited from a little bit more variety rather than just straight clue acquisition, but I enjoyed it. But yeah, I do agree that I think maybe I hyped it up in my head a little bit more than was deliverable.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's actually one of my favorites for a few reasons, and it's strange because I hear what you're saying, Nick, and Sean, and I agree with it. But at this, the things I like about it are that it is on the shorter side, so it's a nice tight scenario you can play. Mm-hmm. I like the tension. I like when it ramps up from 1 car to 2 cars, especially the first time you play it, and you're like, oh shit, now there's 2 going.
Hurry.
You can definitely have some of the most tense finishes, depending on how the scenario goes. I think the thing with it is the story to this one comes out more through the encounter cards and their interaction, say the helpless passenger and Claws of Steam moment I mentioned. And so it kind of depends on how it falls, more so than the map and the story text itself, which is kind of just this like uniform, like now discard this one, now discard that one. And so I think it's kind of like your mileage varies depending on how the cards fall, more so than other scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's also very obvious with this scenario that this one, I think, and this is just a guess, just speculation, but I'm guessing that this one was designed with the idea that people are going to be playing multiple scenarios in one sitting. Because, and that could be part of the reason why I was a little sour on my first, couple plays, is because I had done everything up till now. This one arrives in my mailbox, courtesy of Team Confident, and I crack it open, and I'm so excited to play it, and it's over in about a half hour, and I'm like, that's it? So when it's that's your night, Essex County Express,
you can pound out like 5 campaigns of it.
That's a little different. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a little different when you're doing the first 5 or the first 4 scenarios all together. Like, so I definitely think this one was made with the idea that people are going to want to do a campaign in 2 or 3 sittings, or one sitting or whatever.
It's got Express in the name. So what were we expecting?
It does what it says on the tin.
I know. First, I'm complaining that the train's not moving fast enough, and then I complain that the scenario's moving too fast.
No, that's an interesting point, though, because it's kind of the difference between, like, when a TV show is, like, on every week and you catch each episode versus, like, when you can binge through a whole season. Like, it definitely affects the experience, so it'll be interesting to see how these scenarios play out when you are able to play them as part of, like, one campaign over a few nights or whatever versus, this is my one new scenario until, like, a month later.
Right.
I think
putting
that was
more credence. Go ahead, Scott.
John? No, you.
I was going to say it's putting more credence into the argument that they should move to big box for campaign distribution, but I digress.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's a lot of things. I say I am, if like there's a needle on a scale of how much I like this, I'm just above right in the middle. I found it kind of quick. Part of me, I was like, okay, so I'm going through a train, and the cars with the it's the exact same mechanic, but it's the different card types. I was like, okay, I guess that's kind of okay-ish. But there's parts of it I absolutely loved. Like some of the mechanics, like the train cars falling off the back. I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool. Then it goes up to 2, like you guys said, amazing. The whole stealing the luggage thing, I'm just, wow. Thank you for doing that to me, Matt. But yeah, it felt really quick, and the resolution R1 or whatever felt really bland. Like, oh yay, we did it. Choo choo. Like, continue on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't even get to honk the horn. So I'm middle of the road slightly, but I totally get it too. What you guys are saying about once all of Dunwich is out, it may be easier. Like, this is kind of one of those filler episodes in the middle of a season that, oh, hey, we got to go do a thing that doesn't really tie into the whole storyline,
Yeah, well, stuff. At least it's not a clip show episode.
Yeah.
Those are the worst.
Well, that was a sticky situation.
Play Act 1 of Miskatonic University and Act 2 of Miskatonic Museum. And
oh, boy.
Oh, man. Well, and I was probably starting off on a bad foot, too, because, again, the first thing I see when I'm setting up the scenario, add a -4 to your chaos bag. Well, what the hell? Like, I didn't even start yet, and I'm already getting...
that bugged me way less, I think, because my wife and our campaign, we haven't added anything to the bag yet. Like, that was the first ad. So we're like, oh, okay, I guess it's about time we got something negative. But,
well, la-ti-da. I think I've added everything at some point. I'm pretty sure my first roll of Solon campaign has all the tokens.
God. All right. Well, any closing thoughts on the Essex County Express, as it were?
I mean, we didn't talk much about the strategy, but I think it's pretty straightforward. You get through the cars as fast as you can.
No, it is literally straightforward. That is the only option you have.
Pro tip: keep moving forward.
Yeah, don't stop.
I honestly we did kind of skip that, but I don't think there's any kind of crazy strategy to this. It's just kind of go fast.
Yeah, anything that helps you move fast is good. Yeah,
like Pathfinder.
Direct damage is good to kind of kill those acolytes who are accumulating doom.
Keep your damage low as best you can, because there's that it's called Broken Rails.
It's Broken Rail. I love that as a card where everyone it shakes the train and everyone loses an action. But if you've got four more damage,
drop something.
How much do you guys find yourself discarding cards to the passenger cars versus just taking it?
Almost always just take it.
Really?
Yeah, all the time. Oh, I always discard.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
controversy.
I've been packing like whatever painkillers or smoking pipe the investigator I'm playing needs. So I tend to kind of think of my health and sanity as resources to spend, and that's one thing. Like, hey, in order to do better at a test later, I'm willing to spend a little bit in most cases.
I can see that argument for sure.
Yeah.
See, and I'm running 2 Pathfinders in the 2 times that I've run this. Both have 2 double Pathfinders, so I'm all about get through that Senate, just boom, 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 go as fast as possible. Oh, I can just get rid of cards for this one? Great, here's 2 cards. Good, awesome, keep going. So,
great, here's 2 health.
Yeah, no.
I think I tend to do kind of a mix. Like, I'll discard for the ones that are kind of excess and then take the other ones that I can't afford to ditch those cards, so...
Yeah, I think that comes into play too, right? Like, you wouldn't give up the, whatever that golden pocket watch is, you know, like, to use that for the willpower one. It's like, well...
That 8 experience got me through the passenger car.
Yeah.
Whew, thank God.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for our first 2 Mythos packs.
Right.
I like where the cycle's going so far. I think we get Blood on the Altar this coming week. Yeah.
Yeah, on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
We
excited.
finally make it to Dunwich, the titular town.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the title.
Halfway through the campaign.
So yeah, really excited. Based on the title, I'm assuming it's a charming community and everything goes really well.
Mm-hmm. Sounds legit.
It's ketchup on the altar. It's just the effects.
It's corn syrup.
Just kidding.
All right. Well, let's move it on into technical time. Tom, let's catch up with you first, since
Yes, hello.
Hi. Who and how are you?
Doing well. It's
What
been,
have you been
it's
up
been
to?
busy. A lot of work, as per usual. Nothing new there. I was able to get a nice 4-player game of Arkham Horror in last night, which was a lot of fun. We started the Dunwich Legacy campaign.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Who are you playing?
I'm playing a Roland deck, actually.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I was gonna play a Rex deck, but I let the other players at the table pick first, and so he was swooped up, and I got stuck with the Roland deck, but I really enjoyed playing it, so I'm happy to continue with him moving forward.
Last pick.
Yeah, he was
good. Awesome.
And then as far as let's see what else I've been playing. Well, we have a bunch of video games that have been out lately, which is we're kind of like inundated with these amazing games. So Mass Effect has dropped, as we all know, and I think
It has.
it's been on a number of our lists. So I think we could probably all talk about it together for a little bit.
Mass Effect.
Yeah,
Mass Effect. Mass Effect. Mass Effect.
Mass Effect. I've been putting some hours into Mass Effect Andromeda, and I'm loving it. I think it has gotten like the internet just went berserk when the game came out.
The internet's
and
just a jerk, man.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit there's it's not fully polished and there's some issues, and the issues that are pointed out are valid ones, but like the amount of hatred that the game had upon launch, I thought was kind of uncalled for.
It is.
It's like you ruined the entire series because some of the facial animations are subpar. It's like, okay. Kind of like they're overlooking all the good stuff that the game does.
It's like the internet's such an echo chamber, and like as soon as it's like sharks in the water, and then people get like this glee, like actual glee that they want to like tear it down and getting joy out of it, like being a failure in their eyes. But I feel like the same way. There's flaws to it, but it's the first game that has really like gotten me this obsessed in a long time again.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good things about it. So if you're letting the bad reviews drive you away from it and you're a Mass Effect fan, like don't just try it, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Sure. And I will say that like given the crazy amount of backlash it had, it seemed to have galvanized the team into kind of pushing out some patches really quick. So like the patch that just dropped last week had some pretty noticeable improvements in like the way the characters' eyes were shaded and some of their makeup and stuff, which
I still haven't
helps quite
logged
a
on
bit.
since 1.05, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah. But I agree.
Well,
Yeah, it could have used a few more months in the oven to get polished up and whatnot. But I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I think it's great.
I mean, yeah, I agree. A little more polish would have been nice, but you know, AAA titles have deadlines, and big publishers don't like to miss those. So it is what it is. But I don't know what it is about like. There's this thread of culture out there where like if something's not the best, you can't enjoy it. You just cannot. And yeah, you know what? There are many things that Andromeda doesn't do particularly well, but it does a lot. It is an ambitious ass game. Like, to me, it's the spiritual successor to the first Mass Effect. Because the first Mass Effect
I would agree.
kind of fought itself in a way where it tried to be this big open world game where you have all these planets to explore and there's all this crap that's not scripted and blah, blah, blah. And at the same time, it tried to tell kind of this really tight scripted story. And obviously it did really well. It's got 3 sequels. But I don't know. It's in the second 2 games. Obviously, they decided that wasn't the approach they wanted to take, so they narrowed it down. But to me, this is the first one that kind of finally feels like a sequel to the original Mass Effect, where we're getting that exploration again. There's huge maps. There's kind of spontaneous events that you can find, and it's seamless to go from your vehicle to the ground, then back to the vehicle, then back to your ship, and you can. I don't know.
It's
I'm
the focus on
loving it.
exploration, which I really love.
Mhm.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think that's why some people don't like it, because they like kind of like the tighter narrative of like ME2 and 3. But, you know, I like the whole exploration thing, and they've improved on it a lot from first to Mass Effect. So, you know, I just like this whole story idea, which I wasn't sure about when I first heard of it, of like going to a new galaxy and trying to carve out your place there. But the way it works in practice, it's like I don't know, it's a cool narrative, something different.
And I gotta say, the combat is fun as hell.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, it's fantastic.
The mobility they added adds so much to the combat.
Yeah. It really does.
So yeah, that's been my experience
So-
with Mass Effect so far. It's been good.
Have you guys delved into the multiplayer yet? Very much.
Yes, I have.
I have
Okay.
not.
Yeah, I've been playing with a group
How do
of
you feel
friends.
about the
and
multiplayer?
It's been great. It's basically the same as Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. If any of you played that, where it's a co-op thing where you and 3 other people dive in, and it's kind of like it's a horde mode where you're fighting off waves of enemies, and some waves you have like specific objectives you have to complete. But it's just great fun. I'm loving it so far.
Yeah, and I'm for the most part I love it. I kind of feel like the whole pay for things has been ratcheted up from Mass Effect 3, and it was already kind of like at my limit of what I'm okay with. But I know that's just the order of the day, and I'm apparently just an old man who wants to, hey, just let me give you money for a game, and then you give me that game, and that's the end of it. Because I finally caved. I'm like, all right, let's give it a fair shake. I spent $10 on whatever their Andromeda points are for packs.
Oh, see, I haven't done
And-
any of that yet.
I was disappointed with what I got, so I will not be doing that again.
Yeah, I mean, you just earn in-game money just from playing, and then you can just
Yes,
spend that.
and that's
That
what I'm going to
works
stick
fine.
to for sure.
And it's more than just cosmetic stuff, right? Like you actually unlock new
Yep.
character classes.
Yep, new weapons,
through
new
this.
characters,
That feels
so on and so forth.
Yeah, you start with a fair few. You start with all the major classes, and then I feel like I've unlocked new classes at a pretty standable rate. I've been saving up for whatever the second to highest box is, so whatever it's like 50 creds or whatever the in-game credit is.
50,000 creds.
Yeah, I am rocking the shit with my Turian soldier. You get the right gun on that guy, and you just spec him out for just gun damage and armor, so that he just doesn't die, and he just pours out tons of. Oh, yeah, real fun.
So the other
So-
thing that's kind of been consuming my time is, well, if there's one franchise in the history of video games that kind of outclasses Mass Effect for me, it would be Legend of Zelda.
Oh.
And oh my goodness, a bomb has dropped with that game. Breath of the Wild is nothing short of incredible. Because like to me, like Ocarina of Time has kind of held the crown as like my favorite video game of all time. And I
It's tough
think
to
Breath of the
topple.
Wild is well on its way to unseat that.
Oof.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a strong claim,
Of
but
all
like
time.
just the more
God damn it,
time
Tom!
I'm
I
putting
don't
into that
need
game.
to buy a Switch just for one game.
Well, that's the thing. I
Which
haven't
is
bought a Switch
essentially
yet.
what this would be.
I just downloaded the digital version on Wii U, and I'm playing it on
Oh,
that,
okay.
and it works just as
I
well.
forgot that it was cross-pop. They did it for Wii U as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah, I never
yeah,
bought the
it's
Wii U,
like,
so there's
to
that
me,
issue too.
It,
Yeah.
You and everyone
to
else.
me, I feel like it's like the pinnacle of what an open world game is. Like, there's all these games that claim they're open world, but to me, in my mind, like, this takes the cake because you have like a little tutorial starting area that you have to do, and then once you get out of that area, the only thing you have to do is you could straight go fight Ganon right then and there, and it's crazy just that
Wow.
you can just do that. Of course, you're gonna get your ass handed to you unless you're like a crazy speedrunner and that kind of thing. So, like, you exploring the world and doing all this stuff is really just training your character for the big boss fight at the end. And it's just like the amount of freedom that provides is incredible. And so it's like I haven't experienced a game where I've wanted to explore just for the sheer sake of exploring more than I have with this game. And it's crazy. It's like there's 4 big dungeons, or if you want to call them dungeons, and you don't have to do any of them if you don't want to. You can just skip on right by them because they give you the tools at the beginning, like all your like special abilities, you kind of learn right at the beginning of the game, and it's kind of up to you how you want to carve your own path. And so it's great. I've been watching some Twitch people play it on stream and stuff, and it's like everyone is tackling this game differently. So it's not like you're sitting through the same stuff and over again, because everyone kind of approaches the game in a different way or explores in different ways in different order. And I can't say enough good things about it.
It's kind of remarkable for a series that essentially tells the exact same story over and over again
Right.
in slightly different settings can continue on this long and also receive such accolades as it goes.
That's the thing. And Zelda,
Zelda's a
especially
thing.
up until this point, has been such a formulaic franchise. Like
Mhm.
every iteration
Oh, yeah.
of Zelda game is like, okay, we're doing this and this and this, A, B to C. Where this one really kind of builds it from the ground up, and it's got it's got the same building blocks, but I would think this one really breaks from formula because it's so open and so open world. And I think it did an amazing job. Go buy it, Sean.
Oh Lord.
The last Zelda game I finished was Wind Waker, and I played, I think, probably about 3/4 of the way into Twilight Princess before. For some reason, I think I got stuck in like the Wind Temple or something like that and kind of gave up.
Sure.
God, they've always been a big part of my gaming life up to that point.
Okay. So you skipped Skyward Sword.
I did. That one I should go back to.
I really loved it. I think it's gotten some mixed reviews from depending on who you ask. I thought it was great, but still doesn't quite hold a candle to Breath of the Wild.
I think my last Zelda was Ocarina of Time, so
Jeez, Ian.
You owe it to yourself.
You have me beat, Ian. Link's Awakening,
Nice.
I'm pretty sure, was the last one I actually sat down
Yeah,
and
I mean,
played.
Nick and I were childhood friends. I don't think I ever was able to get him to sit down and play Zelda with me.
I have never played a Zelda game.
God damn it,
Wow.
Scott.
But Sean, you'll be proud of this. I'm actually selling magic cards to buy a Switch to play Zelda. So
Well, you know what
There
would
you
make
go.
me more proud is if you were selling it to buy a PS4 so we could play things together.
yeah, but you and I don't play the same things. You play like Andromeda and stuff. So
This is true. I have confirmed that I play Andromeda. Anyway,
yeah, maybe one day.
Okay.
Maybe one day.
I'll keep an eye on it, Tom. I'm not making it. Does it have any kind of multiplayer, or would we just
No,
be sharing?
It's a solitary experience.
It's a
I
Zelda
just
game.
had to hey, Four Swords exists.
This is true.
I didn't know if they had a mode.
Does it still?
That was a good
That was on GameCube, wasn't it? That was a GameCube
It's a Game
It was
Boy
like they had a
Advance, I
GameCube
thought.
GameCube
joint.
/ Game Boy Advance connection thing, and like I bought into it, but it's like
Yeah.
you have the requirements are so high to get like the full experience out of it.
That's
But
what
it was
that's one
amazing.
thing that I love about like
Oh.
Japanese gaming culture, Nintendo specifically. Like it just assumes this intensely high level of buy-in that, yeah, I find so often flops here because I wasn't going to get all the equipment you needed to play that game, even though the concept sounded awesome. All right. Ian, what you been up to?
Well, we've covered Mass Effect, which has been a huge chunk of my time lately. I've talked to you on Tentacle Time before about how I mostly am like tabletop games these days, and video games are very rare, so this one has actually captured my time and my attention, which has left less time for other stuff. I think I'm trying to think of any other. Of course, the new Lord of the Rings Adventure Pack, which is great. So if you're a Lord of the Rings player, you should pick that up.
Race Across a Rod, that one?
Yep, Race Across a Rod, running away from orcs on a freaking Moomok.
Yeah.
So you can't really get better than that. So enjoying that and all the deck building that's going on in that game. One of my favorite
you particularly like how they give us a hero for the new side quest archetype in the pack that hates on side quests more than any other adventure ever has.
Yeah, that's never happened in Lord of the Rings before.
Oh man, I raged so hard because I got that deck and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm finally gonna try this out because I've been trashing on it the whole time on the other podcast. And I assemble the deck. I think I'm pretty good. I can quest for like 11 with nothing else on the board, just my heroes first turn with that thing. So I'm like, I am getting this side quest done. And then I played the first couple rounds and the salt was real.
Here's a shiny new sweater to wear. Now go outside in the 100-degree heat.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it is. Caleb will be hearing some words from me the next time I see him.
Seems to be one of the things I really enjoy doing. So yeah. One of my other favorite pastimes, I love RPGs and rarely get to play them, so I enjoy watching good like RPG playthroughs. I mentioned watching Critical Role before. Another good one that I started watching recently is called Eric's TBD RPG, which is on the Geek and Sundry channel, and they're playing through a Doctor Who RPG, which is pretty fun because it's
How does
basically
that work? Is the GM the doctor? Like, no player can be the doctor, right?
The players can be the doctor. The system is kind of interesting. It's like tends to be on the lighter side, not as crunchy. And they have these things called story points, which you can basically spend to change the narrative. So if you're gonna like totally like fail on a roll and just face plant or whatever the case may be, you can spend those to change it so that you don't die. Because the combat is pretty unforgiving, because that's kind of like a Doctor Who thing, you know? He's not like shooting it out with the bad guys. Like, it's mostly about running and using wits. So if you do come on the wrong side of an enemy and take damage or whatever, it's pretty punishing. And so they try to give you ways to get around that. And the combat is basically interesting. It's divided between, like, you have to choose a role. Like, either you're a talker, you're a doer, you're a runner, or you're a fighter, and then which one you pick is going to determine like what order you go in. Like if you're a talker, then you're going to go first and try to talk your way out of whatever's happening. A doer is like, you know, flipping a light switch, scanning something, whatever the case may be, and so on. And running is, you know, a Doctor Who thing. So
it sure is.
Yeah. So the GM is good in that show. It's a fun watch. If you have the time. I usually like those kind of things as like background to whatever I'm doing. And I still think the Arkham LCG system is very good. If anyone wants to do a Doctor Who hack of it at any point, I would support that. I don't have time to do it myself, but someone should totally do it.
Can I be Inspector Spacetime?
What was that?
Can I be Inspector Spacetime?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Anything else from you, Ian?
I think that's about it. I'll give another up to Star Trek Frontiers, which I've been playing a bit, which is like the reskin of Mage Knight with the Star Trek universe. So if you're a fan of Mage Knight, or if you like kind of like crunchy solo games with lots of strategy involved, then that's a good one for you.
Nice. I believe that brings us to Nick. What have you been up to aside from moving and all the attendant stress that comes with that?
Oh boy, moving. Guys, don't do it. It sucks. In the little bit of free time that I've had before and after the move, my wife and I finished Westworld, which, wow.
Yeah.
It's a really good show.
Still haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so good.
And like I was like, because there's two major storylines kind of running congruently, and one of them I'm like, I'm all in on this, and the other one I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this.
Until the twist,
and then,
right?
Right, and then towards the end of the season, it's like, okay, no, I'm actually all for this. Like, this whole show, 110% is phenomenal now.
Yep.
So it may be a little rough getting there, but once you do, it makes you appreciate everything before that. And I don't want to go into anything more than that.
Well, the second watch through is fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like halfway through my
I
second
bet.
watch through, and you just catch shit because,
Yeah,
all the
I need
secrets
to
are...
rewatch it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that was a good show. I finished Dragon Age Inquisition. That was a lot of fun. I don't know if I like it better than Origins or not. I definitely like it better than 2, simply as just a total package. But I don't know. Like, Inquisition was a lot of fun, but I did have some problems with it. What else? Like everyone else, I am also jumping on board with a pretty big science fiction game. I'm a little late to the game, like other people have played it already, but I'm assembling my squad and I'm going out and I'm killing aliens and I'm finally playing XCOM 2 and I love it.
Ooh, nice.
Absolutely love it. It's no Mass Effect, but this XCOM is between
oh my God,
Enemy
guys,
Within.
They should make a Mass Effect game that's like the XCOM template with the Mass Effect skin over it. I would play the shit out of that.
I'm pretty sure that has been like my mantra ever since I played Enemy Within like 6 years ago. I'm like, oh, if this was Mass Effect, I would fucking love it. But XCOM 2, I do the thing you should never do, which is customize all of your soldiers to look and to look like people that you know, because they're all gonna die anyway. But I still do it.
How's
I have
Sean
a pool
doing?
of about. He died. I'm pretty sure he literally just died yesterday.
Did he die heroically at least?
I don't think.
Lie to me,
I don't
Nick.
know. I'd have to go.
Nick wasn't even
He
paying
saved the
attention.
rest of the team.
It's better not to ask, Sean.
I'm pretty sure, and you can ask my wife about this, Sean, but I'm pretty sure at one point I was like, God damn it, Sean. Like everything I had you do, you failed at during one part of that scenario. So, but it's a lot of fun. It's very much a tabletop game in the digital format. So I definitely recommend anyone who hasn't played XCOM to give it a try. And then finally, my Roll20 RP campaign in the Wars universe. We had a bit of a hiatus due to my move and my work scheduling, but we're going back to it this week. And over the weekend, I actually finished, quote unquote, my overarching campaign notes and kind of like each scenario and each session and what I want the generalistics to be during those sessions. Obviously, that's going to change. But just doing that and like getting a bigger picture at this point and going, okay, now I can see how all the pieces fit together. Because when I start a campaign, I don't have that. When I start a campaign, I have an idea for one scenario, and then I'm like, no, I'll make up the rest as I go. This is really exciting, and I'm 110% back into this. I say 110%. I'm 100% back into this. I'm really excited for this campaign to go. So
Awesome. Does it involve my character dying again unjustly?
now you didn't die, Sean, so let's not get too worked up about it. You just
Mm.
got incapacitated and your strength got reduced. It happens. Though that might be in the notes at some
Well, then you can expect another temper tantrum coming your way.
I had another character for you to play, but nope. You wanted to sit out. You want to watch everyone else play.
I was salty.
You were. That's fine.
Scott, how about you?
Well, I recently went on pat leave, so I'm at home for the next month.
What's that?
with
I'm
my
an
son.
American.
It's paternity leave or parental leave. So the government
Isn't that something
pays-
the lady folk do?
It is, yeah, but in Canada, the parents can split it or whatever. So I decided to take the last month because I don't have boobs. So I can't take the first month, obviously. So yeah, I'm
Now it's
stay-at-home-
getting very mechanically complex.
yeah, I'm a stay-at-home dad for a month, which is it's eye-opening. It is eye-opening with a first child, but loving it. Speaking of Westworld, I just started watching it. and my wife has already watched it. So you were talking about the rewatch. My wife is rewatching it as I'm watching it.
Oh no,
That's got to be so hard. Yeah.
So she's just like something will come on. She's like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "You'll get it later."
Oh man.
But
Watch it separate at that point, man.
it's pretty good. And Hearthstone, the other card game I'm addicted to, just dropped the newest expansion, Ungoro. And
the best expansion.
Oh man, it turned the game on its head. They added a new type of card. They added new mechanics to the cards and stuff like that. It's been fantastic. So I've been just playing like mad. So
yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, they added a new system where each class has a quest. So you play this
they
card.
pulled that from the TCG, huh?
Yeah, you play this card first turn. It always starts in your hand, but you can mulligan it away if you want it to. And they're all one cost, and if you do a certain thing, you get these ridiculous rewards, and some of them are just insane. Yeah, some people have broken some decks already, but everything's kind of, in a competitive card game, when new stuff comes out, there's always like, oh, how do I deal with this? Nerf all of this, and then it all settles out in the end usually. So
yeah, I'm so happy that Taunt Warrior is finally a thing that I can play and feel good about.
Oh my goodness,
that quest changed it.
Yeah, Blizzard finally got us to play Taunt Warrior.
Yeah,
but
that seems like it should be the most basic warrior build.
It's what I went to right away with Warrior, and I got my ass handed to me. But now, oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, because now if you play, is it 7 taunts as Warrior?
7 taunts, yeah.
You get a 4/2 weapon, so 4 damage, 2 swings. And your hero power, instead of just gaining 2 armor, you do 8 damage to a random minion because you grabbed like Ragnaros the Fire Lord's sword.
And it's to a random enemy, not a random minion.
Yeah.
So you could hit face with it.
Jeez.
Yeah, you turn into Ragnaros. So
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty sweet. It's the most, I'd say that one's the flashiest quest. I'm a fan of the priest quest.
Oh, the priest one's so good too. Death Rattle Priest is awesome.
Yeah. Just go back to 40 health. I know you started at 30, but just go to 40. It's cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Priest, and I mentioned this in our chat channel earlier, but Priest for me, because I've been playing that one the most, it really feels like my games start out as, I don't think I can survive past turn 6, to, oh, you were prepared for turn 14, were you?
Yeah.
Like, the early game is so rough with Priest, but the late game, they just own.
That's totally it, too. Like, I've had so many games like, oh man, I better draw something good, and then on turn 29 in Fatigue,
yeah.
I'm like, wow, my deck really works well. I'm playing in Wild, I'm playing with Reno, so it's like...
Oh my god.
Go to 40.
I haven't even touched Wild yet with Ungoro.
Oh man,
I'm sure those are words.
You know what?
You guys had your Mass Effect
I
moment.
was gonna say that exact same thing. Like I was muted during the Mass Effect thing. I was like, oh my god, when are these guys gonna stop talking about a stupid video game? Here's Hearthstone.
I wanted to jump in with all my opinions on Mass Effect, but since I haven't actually played it yet, I figured I better stop.
Yeah,
pulling
that's
the reins and
a
try
good
it.
qualifier before throwing down opinions.
When people start talking about Hearthstone, I feel like one of the androids in Westworld. I'm like, it doesn't look like anything to me. I'm not programmed to understand it.
It is a lot of fun. Like, if you value competitive card games, it is a lot of fun and at least worth trying it for free. Like, you don't have to drop any money on it. I think it's totally worth it. But yeah, you do have to understand that it embraces being a digital card game, so it does some things differently than other than games what you're used to. So
yeah, I mean, the thing I like about it too is it's on mobile, so and on the computer you can play it wherever. So
Again, pooping.
Yeah. Or for me at work, right? I'm sitting at a station, I've got nothing to do. Well, I guess I'll play Hearthstone for 2 hours, right? Like just yeah. So
Seems legit.
too legit to quit.
Well, my list for Tentacle Time was just Mass Effect repeated 3 times. So we've already talked about that. So the one last thing I'll say is I have, like, all of my friends are freaking heathens, and I have no friends who are playing Mass Effect on my console. So if you're playing Mass Effect on PS4 and you want to hit multiplayer, let me know. Hit me up. You can do it via the contact on the webpage. You can do it via Facebook. Message me there, and we can exchange some usernames because I'd really like to play some actual coordinated multiplayer.
And if you're on
I'll
PC,
get there.
come and join me.
I like my couch too much, Tom.
I like my mouse and keyboard too much.
Well, there it is.
You know, you guys.
Tom raises a very good point.
You could all come play Hearthstone on whatever system you want.
That's true.
I would say join me on Xbox, but I'm antisocial, so don't.
You know, one thing you guys did mention about Mass Effect that sounded cool was the wave-based, like, defense.
Oh, the
or
multiplayer
whatever.
is so fun, Scott. So fun.
Ian, my wife has Mass Effect, and I'm on Xbox One.
Oh,
so
God damn it, Scott!
Maybe I'll make an exception.
Our powers
Maybe
combined.
one day I'll put the Hearthstone down.
Yeah.
All right, this episode's over. Bitter pants again. Anyway, so thank you for joining us on this episode 13 of Mythos Busters. Guys, any parting shots before we go?
Can't wait to...
What did we talk about? Oh, yeah. Blood on the Altar. Looks good.
I know that one.
Yeah. All right, well, that'll wrap it up for us then. We will see you next time on Mythos Busters.